All right. And then we always look at assistive technology. It's a requirement to look at assistive technology with each student as we consider their IEPs, but we also know that the SET framework for considering it is a great tool for equity. When we look at the student, the environments, the tasks, and the tools, we know that it gets each student exactly what it is that they need. And like I said, today's guests are several people from our Region 3 AT community of practice. And we're just sharing things out that we went to Charting the Seas. There's a link there to the main website, which will show you basically all of the different breakout sessions that there were, keynotes, all of that. But the theme this year was to literacy and beyond. And everything really was pretty strongly literacy based. So it was kind of cool to see such a strong theme being presented. But it was out in the Brainerd Lakes area at Madden's Resort, about 400 attendees for about 3 days. So lots of great content. And if you click on that main conference link, you'll be able to see any of the titles, and I probably can get you any slides that you'd be interested in seeing through that. So each of you, as it kind of gets handed to you, make sure you just do a little brief introduction of who you are and maybe what region or district you work in your role. Um, and first of all, I'm going to hand it off to Michelle. Just let me know when to advance your slides, Michelle.
All right, thanks, Julie. I'm Michelle Reichert. I am the teacher for students with physical and other health disabilities and the TBI, traumatic brain injury. Of course, our bell is going off. And I work for the Grand Rapids School District and the IAS Co-op. So I attended a session on adaptive books for literacy, and it was presented by Andrea Murphy and Kristen King Asum. Oh, go ahead. What are adapted books? Adaptive books are specialized resources designed to support literacy development, particularly for children with special needs or diverse learning style. These books are designed to be interactive, often using sensory, visual, or auditory elements to enhance engagement and accessibility. So some of the general adaptations that can be done, visual supports, for example, pictures, symbols, large print, physical supports, Velcro pieces, page tabs, or sometimes we call them page fluffers, so it's easier for students that are impacted with their fine motor skills can turn the pages easier. Sensory elements, textures, sounds, and smells. Next slide. And why do we want to use these adapted books? The benefits. Accessibility. They provide access to literature for students with disabilities, for example, visual impairments and motor challenges. Engagement encourages participation through interactive features. Skill development enhances literacy, communication, motor, and cognitive skills. Cross-curricular, adapted books can be used for a variety of academic areas and social skills. And individualization. Adapted books can be tailored to each student's specific needs and support their IEP goals. Next slide. And how do we implement those adapted books? Best practices are you introduce the books during your lessons, free choice time, or therapy sessions. Pair books with hands-on activities and sensory tools. Use them in small groups or one-on-one instruction. Adjust based on student response and progress. So for example, a colleague of mine in early childhood uses the adapted books as a way to help with socialization. So she brings out these books, and any kid loves a Velcro or anything that they can manipulate. So she uses these with the student that has a physical impairment, and it introduces some concepts, and then they interact with this student. And it's just a nice skill-based set that increases the socialization and interaction with this student. It also provides data collection. You track progress in areas like engagement, comprehension, and communication. And collaboration involves speech therapists, occupational therapists, families, and other professionals. Next slide. How to create adapted books. Select a book based on the student's needs and interests. Plan adaptations if you need visuals, tactiles, or interactive. Gather materials, lamination sheets, Velcro, page tabs, textures, and assemble the book. Tips: start small with simple adaptations. Use free online templates or DIY resources. Next slide. And I just listed a couple pages of the resources that the presenters used. I have not looked at all of them, but I know Teacher Pay Teachers has a lot of resources that you can use to adapt books. You can just go and the STAR curriculum has a lot of things that you can use that's readily made that you can adapt books. And I do have a couple to show you. Oh, Julie, I'm sorry. All right. This is just one that was adapted from Teachers Pay Teachers. So it was bound using one of those spiral bounding machines. And each page has a spot to put which matching piece goes with the story. So what we do in the winter is one of them. This was from a Charting the Seas one I went to probably 8 years ago. It was through their curriculum, reading curriculum and math curriculum, but we got to adapt a book. So this was actually a book that they used during their grade level times. And it was just like they gave a picture for a vocabulary word, like this one's backyard. So it was way to include the child, but they were just able to find one of the cue vocabulary words and put it on the page. Like concepts flat and measured and string. So these are just a simple way to include your child, your student into the reading curriculum that way. And there's just another one that was done the similar way of just one little icon on each page, but it was some way that they could be interactive and be part of the discussion in their class. There's many other ways, board books for those early childhood students. I don't have any examples of those with me today, but that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. And I think Shannon, I think your piece is up next. Is that right?
Yeah. There is a slide there, and we don't need to show it, but what I'm going to talk about is Mentimeter.com. So I'm Shannon Pruill. I'm the technology coordinator at the Northern Lights Special Education Cooperative. We're out of the ESCO School District. So one tool I really like is this Mentimeter.com, and it's an interactive presentation. So very similar to like a poll everywhere. It basically puts up things on the screen, and users use their devices or their computer to answer questions, ask questions, and it just gets the audience involved, and then gives you some feedback as well based on some of the questions you've asked. So why don't I share my screen and we'll just look at one. Okay. So this is the presenter view. So you can see I have some options to make some changes, but before we go in and look at that, why don't we just do one so you have an idea? So as the presenter, I'm going to hit the present button. I don't know if you can see that there. And if you guys want to try this, why don't we do it? So if you have your cell phone with you, or you can use that to take a picture of that QR code, use your camera and try to get to this website. You can also open a tab on your computer and go to menti.com and then plug in this code right here, 5469 5349. So why don't we, if you have an opportunity, just get a couple people on here. You can see how this works. And then once we get a few people on there, I'll start it. Right. Should we give it a whirl? Okay. So I play Would You Rather with my kids quite a bit. So this is a real simple slideshow that you can do just to get people involved. So let's go to the first slide. Which one would you choose? Unlimited money or unlimited time? So on your device, you should see something similar. And as people answer the questions, you can see it raises or lowers based on your responses. So you can still join if anybody else wants to join. You go to menti.com on another tab and then plug in that code up there. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, 2 people want unlimited time. Okay. All right, which one would you choose? Travel back in time or travel to the future? So you can see here, I don't know who's answering. You can set it up this way where you don't have to know the person who's responding. 2 people want to travel to the future. Okay, cool. And then the last slide I put in here is a word cloud. So what is your next dream vacation? And you have an opportunity to type in 1 response, or I think I put 3 responses total. So just go ahead and type in 1 or more. And when you hit submit, they should show up on the screen here. Ely, all right. Hawaii, that's mine too. So awesome. Yeah, so you can see very simple to use. This was a template. All right, I'm going to back out of there and see if we can get back to the presentation view. So this is how it looks as a teacher if you're setting up these slides. So I'm going to navigate back to the home screen. And let's look at another one I set up here. So I work in technology and I'm always posting information about what to click on, what not to click on, any kind of cybersecurity type things. So I set up this challenge and what we did, we had a large group and I set up all these slides ahead of time, kind of like a quiz, just to see so I can get an idea where people were at and maybe what concepts I need to focus a little bit more on. And this one, I had it set up where the user would plug in their name, and then we went through this whole quiz challenge. And if you responded quickly and had the right answer, it shows up at the very end, and I gave a prize out. So it's a really neat, kind of fun way just to keep your audience engaged. So let's see, we could do this one. You guys interested and want to try another one, or do you want me to show you how to add a few things in here? Doesn't matter. All right.
How to add a few things.
Let's add a few things. All right. So in this one here, let's say at the very beginning, I want to add in, so what I was using was this one, select an answer, but I want to add in a multiple choice question. So they can answer any type of question. So you basically just add in the slide like you would a Google slide, and you can type in your question here. What is the best way to respond to an email? Okay, so you could, and then when I got that typed in there, I would just click on the box below. And then it's a little bit odd. It's not totally like Google, but you see when I clicked on that over here off to the right, it gave me my options. So then you could type in your options you want them to pick from. Respond right away. Wait 3 days or do nothing. So, and then from there you can have it set up where people can use multiple options. You can choose the correct answer. If I do that, then I would want to probably check the right one. So respond right away. And then that's it. Then we go back. So now that's in the slideshow. It's ready to go. And when I present it, let's see if I can get the presentation screen. That's how it looks for you guys. So it's pretty easy to use. It's a nice way to get that live feedback. There are a few limitations. The free version, you can only have 50 participants per month, and you can see that right up there in the upper right-hand corner. You can go over once per month, but it's 50 for any slide you use. So that's one of the limitations. I just thought it was an easy tool and a way to keep people engaged. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon. That is a great tool for interaction. All right, Tina, I think you're up next. I'll share slides, right?
Yes, please. I'm Tina Olson. I'm the teacher for the physically impaired, and I'm work for the Northern Lights Special Ed Co-op. Perfect. And I am talking about APES is the acronym for Active Participation and Engagement for Students, making curriculum that is active and meaningful with complex bodies and needs. And then I just listed who the presenters were that shared at the conference. They talked about errorless learning, which it was new to me, but finding out that a bunch of other special ed teachers I work with use it quite often, especially with children with autism. And usually there's no wrong answer. It's all set up that they can work independently, and it's just always the right answer. They make it that way, and then you can, as you go, like an example could be like counting out objects. You could have the number 1 in a box, and then they can actually have the picture card or the number 1 in their hand and match it. And then as they get better with counting, you take the 1 away that's in the box, and then they can just put the number 1 on it after they count that object, and then go on from there. So it's kind of nice. It goes to different levels, but you can change up the book a little bit. So Julie, if you want to click into the errorless learning link, I have a few examples. We're going to go into the alphabet one first. They shared a bunch of alphabet books from A to Z, and you can just pick whichever one. So B is for B. You can work on letter sounds. You can say either the letter name or the sound. So B is for ball, or B is for ball, whichever way you want to do the book. And they gave you all the pictures and then the letters to go with that. And you could start out with putting B in the box so that they could just match if it was more difficult for them just to get the letter B out. And then you can take that B away, and then they could just put the B on there. So those are some letter books that you could do. Some other ones that I've seen is where it's written out in a little line where B is for baby, and then the box is at the end of the sentence. So different ways that you can do that. Plus, Teacher Pay Teachers has a lot of books on there for errorless learning that you can set up in a book type format. I saw an addition one where they had 1 + 2, and then 3 was in the box very faintly so that they could match the numbers. And there was no pictures. So it was just that addition sentence. If we go to the number one. So then counting, the same thing. They have some pictures there. And then a picture of a dog, and then you would put the number 1 in that box. And just counting different things. And this is a nice, you can make it into a spiral bound book where then they could work on like even on an engaged task, time on task, that they don't need someone constantly telling them to keep going. So that a lot of things you could use these errorless books for learning with. Perfect. Thank you. And we can always share copies of these that we've gotten. So just reach out if you're interested in them. But there's a bigger span than I was aware of even after attending this workshop. So thank you.
Cool, Tina. Great resources. And that whole folder that Tina shared is linked in the slides. So everything that I was just bringing up, you'll have access to too. And now I'm going to share a few. As I said, I'm Julie Venus. And one that I learned about down in the vendor hall, you know how at a conference there's oftentimes an area where all the vendors are set up. One that I learned about down there is called Lessee AI. And it's a company based in St. Paul, and it is all about special education AI tools, which I thought was really pretty cool. You know, tons of AI tools out there right now. Many of them we can't access directly through our district accounts. Like for example, in ISD 709, I could not do the single sign-on for Google, and I can't access it at all on my district computers here. So I had to do this on my home computer. But then I do that and I sign in with my email account and I can do it just fine. So it's a relatively new company, so if you get your account now for free, I would recommend you do that, even just to go in and play around with it. He said you'll have the free legacy account for life because soon this will be coming a subscription account. I don't know the cost. He didn't say that, but just know that. I just linked the privacy policy there because sometimes that's important for school districts to take a look at in case it is available in yours. And then I put the document of some examples I'll share in just a minute. But there's also like a 2-minute video that you can watch about getting started with Lessee. I'll be pretty quick about the things that I share, but just wanted to show a little bit. These again are screenshots, but this is the main page that you come to. There are student support tools, and again, just kind of cautionary. Wouldn't put too much student specific information in there, but it can help with even developing goals and objectives. The one example I did put in there was a visual schedule. And so I'll show you on another tab. There was one, I plugged in a few things into the visual schedule and it came up with these different things. So again, I could um, do a few different things like, did I want it picture based or text based? Did I want it by time or not by time? And so it's color coded. You can see lunch, and then it's going to be recess, then math, and then science, then music. So again, just kind of, this took me approximately 30 seconds to create using this AI tool. So different than some of the visual schedules that we would typically use, but just know that that's one of the things that are on there. So kind of worth playing around a little bit if that's something that you do. Um, and then let's go to the next slide here. Sorry, I'm toggling between too many different things here. Okay. And then, so again, this is how I entered that one, schedule type. You have all sorts of different options. One of the nice things too is like if you see in the lower right-hand corner there, you could do the default setup, which is what I did, but you also could do high contrast. So if your students have visual impairments, that could be supportive, like cortical visual impairment, modern, vibrant, whimsical, dyslexia friendly. So lots of different options there. Then if you scroll down on that main page, you also get content creation tools, which I think might be the most powerful piece that I saw when I played around with it with just a little bit. I'm by no means, no stretch of the imagination, um, an expert on this at all, but some of these pieces to be able to generate lesson plans, to create reading passages, and to do student activities seem like a really powerful thing for me. Um, that could just get some things quickly done. So, for example, I did a new student activity. It asks you what is the topic or skill. You can even put in standards. So, you could enter the Minnesota standard even by number. It asks you for grade level or grade levels, how long you want it to cover, and then what you want the layout to be. And then I'm going to switch tabs again. And again, I just copied and pasted it over here so you could see, but I just said, okay, I wanted grade 2 water cycle worksheets. And it came up with this. You can click to download the worksheets that they created, but it talks about the components. It even asked me follow-up questions like, are you near certain water bodies, so that it can be specific to that. So then it put in all these things about Lake Superior. I wanted it for grade 2 and grade 6 because maybe I have students at multiple levels in my classroom. So it was able to create both of those for me. So just know that that could be a really powerful tool, especially when you're trying to differentiate within your classroom. All right. So yeah, and you can pick any of these types of activities. It could be a peer learning activity, group project, experiences, or skills practice. And this is just an example of, yeah, it asked what, do you have anything near you in terms of water bodies? And then do you have any access in your classroom to what materials? And so I was like, okay, yep, I live near Lake Superior and we have a smart board available. And that's when they shared those additional resources. Okay, so that's just Lessee AI. Again, I would recommend setting up a free account, if nothing else, just to play around with it and see if there are useful pieces in there. Lots of good things in AI helping our workloads. Yeah, go ahead, Shannon.
So I just created a quick account while you were talking, and it was super easy. Do you find, or do you think this is similar to Magic School AI, or do you know if there's pros or cons of both of them, or?
It's a great question, Shannon. I haven't played around with either of them enough to know whether what the pros and cons of each of them would be. I'd be curious to see if anyone else here has had experience with them, or if
It
anyone
looks very
knows any
similar, I think.
comparisons.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, just another resource. I feel like there's so many coming out now in terms of AI that are useful. So, and then just really quickly, I just wanted to share some websites, but this Literacy for All website, if you haven't checked that one out yet, that one to me is one of the more robust websites, and I feel like it was shared in several resources or several presentations that I was in. I know we've got a couple of OT people in the audience today, so I'm going to click on this Access to Writing tab here. It talks about alternative pencils, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit where it talks about what is that. So basically, an alternative to physically holding a pencil in your hand. Talks about how you get started with that, but it gives a lot of examples from actually adapting the pencil to using different items like magnetic letters, alphabet stamps, um, and then also goes down into things like a color-coded eye gaze system for alphabet and for writing. And if you aren't familiar with Karen Erickson and David Copenhaver out of University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, a lot of this is things that I learned directly from them, and this is their work. So, all of these resources are available for you to download and create for students, literally right there for free. And then it also goes into how to implement those. There are also additional resources here on alternate pencils. So, lots of great resources there. Also in emergent literacy, you can see there are things about shared reading, predictable chart writing, and the other piece, access to books. So again, this was a 30-second introduction to a really robust website. So talks about how to adapt books for increased durability, to facilitate page turning. Here's some of those adapted pages like Michelle was talking about, different ways that you can do page fluffers, how to
Could you
adapt
repeat the
tactual
name of
books.
that website? I'm
Sure, this
sorry.
website, yeah, and let me drop this in the chat window. Literacy for All is the name of it, but let me drop this in the chat. This is to one particular tab, but you'll have the general idea. Yeah, and all of these things that we're talking about today are linked in the slides too, but that one was one of my favorite websites that I picked up during that. Talks about, it just gives you so many different ones of how to actually make some of these tactile books. So just know that that's a treasure trove of resources there. I also have links to several other slides that were really great literacy things, including our keynote speaker, who was Mateo Moreno and Tina Moreno. And they were amazing resources. Mateo is an AAC user, and he talked about the importance of literacy in his life, and we learned a lot of great lessons from him. So that slideshow is shared there as well if you wanted to take a look at that. I am not going to share these cooking resources. It's 3 o'clock now, but they're in there. But know that there's some good resources there, and that's kind of a teaser. We learned some things and got some great ideas, but in the fall, we're going to be doing a workshop in person here in Duluth, and it's free. There are going to be breakout sessions, including make and takes. So if you haven't registered for that yet, I would recommend that you do. There's a bit.ly address there on the webpage that you can type in bit.ly/capital OCT 23 capital workshop, and then capital W in the workshop, or a QR code there on the bottom. But that's an exciting opportunity that we have coming up. I'm going to stop talking there, open it up for questions and answers. I know in a half hour we just tore through a whole bunch of resources, but we had so many good things that we learned about. We wanted to make sure that we had time to share them with you today. Any questions? Couple of thank yous in the chat window. You're so very welcome. I'm going to go ahead and stop the